You can read that.
Oh, okay. Well, so, hey,
Oh,
Bill.
you
So,
can have that.
excuse me.
You can have that.
Oh, the paper.
Yeah.
Animals. So you wrote this?
Yeah.
So animals, we have been witness to the enduring quality of animals in our lives. Some of us believe that animals have souls. It is therefore painful to acknowledge their terrible suffering. Millions of animals are killed every day for sport, in vivisection labs and factory farming, etc. These animals have the same expressions of love that we have. We must recognize this monumental suffering that is so casually performed in our society. The death of millions of animals is a sin. We must do everything possible to teach society the importance of animal existence, to tell the world that animals are a necessary and important ingredient in the fabric of our life and an integral part of mankind. Animals and man are one. Bill Dyer.
Here.
How long ago did you write this?
Oh, about 6 months ago.
Okay, that's very nice.
I had those thoughts, and I wanted to say something bigger than what I've been doing, in a bigger scope of what animal rights is about.
So do you feel that you've been involved in animal rights for what, about 3 decades, 4 decades?
Yes.
Because I know I did read somewhere that you wish you had started when you were younger, but
yeah.
you did start when you did, and that happens for a lot of us, because I didn't start till I was in my mid-30s,
Yeah.
I think. And actually,
I know what you mean.
I met you, the way I met you is the Lakers had won a championship, I think, in the year 2000, and I went downtown driving around to get a Laker hat after the championship, and there was an event at the Staples Center for an animal event there, and you had a table there, I think, for defensive animals, because you were the regional manager. And I met you there for the first time. I met Laurie Wise there for the first time, and I met Missy Woodward, who's a good friend of mine, also for the first time at that event. And since then, I started videotaping and attending a lot of other events, and you were always at every event I attended practically. You know, whatever mattered about animals. And one thing I really admired is that, you know, you took up all the issues as opposed to some people concentrate on like one aspect of animal rights.
Yeah.
You know, so you were there for all the time for whatever pertained to the animals and the harm they were suffering. And in that way, you know, of the few people, you were one of the only people that really encouraged me to keep going with my animal activism. And so that way, like you talk about Chris being your mentor, the only person I can really think of being sort of my mentor in the animal rights area is yourself.
Oh, that's
You know,
nice.
so I've been following your activities and stuff for a long time, and I think a lot of people should recognize that. And it's important for future generations to encourage other generations. So even though you feel like you haven't done enough, what you did, this encouraged me. And then when I see like youngsters, like, you know, I see this Genesis Butler, Joseph Moreno, Lila Copeland, who are very young. They're like 8, 10, and like 14 years old.
Yeah.
Being very serious animal activists, and so I kind of like, I'm more than willing to try and help those people out and encourage what they're doing, because they're doing quite a bit on their own by themselves without my help. So it's kind of like, it's you know, it's still moving. The movement's growing quite a bit.
You feel it is.
Yeah, well, especially with the internet. Like I've seen you have a Facebook page,
Yeah.
and I think Facebook's been very helpful, and it's definitely growing. And you know, there's a lot more activists that are, even though there's still tons of harm being done to animals throughout the world, 'cause it's like we got factory farming of all kinds of animals and chickens and breeding for food, and stuff hasn't stopped. It's probably picked up a bit, but there's a much more awareness
I
of
wish
it.
with all this stuff now about politics and, you know, the President of the United States, all those the different issues, they never talk about animals. Not one of them. Sometimes they talk about the environment, but they don't talk about animals and what we could do to improve their lives.
Do you mind if we stop this, and I'll just going to get a single shot of you talking about this? Well, one other thing I wanted to mention is the first time I saw you at an event, a protest, and you were wearing a shirt that just had a V on it.
What?
It just had the letter V on the shirt. I think it was a sweatshirt or a hoodie. And I remember asking you what the V stood for, and you said vegan. And you know, up until that point, I really wasn't aware of what veganism was and stuff. And so you were sort of the person that kind of, in a way, introduced me to that whole concept of veganism, being vegan also.
That's great.
Yeah, so I mean, you were very instrumental for myself
Oh,
towards
that's,
that.
oh, well, that's very sweet of you. I became a vegan because of animal rights. One thing leads to another. That the more you work on behalf of animals, you become a vegan because you understand how they are used and tortured and killed, and so you become involved that way. Well, you know what concerns me during this time for electing a president of the United States. That's all we hear about on television, which is a good thing, and they discuss some of the issues. But what they are leaving out is the animals. And I wish one of the politicians would say something about animal rights. They talk about, this issue and that issue. Why can't they have an issue about animal rights? It would be wonderful if somebody could take up the mantle of animals. It would be terrific. Thanks.
Billy, his name is Billy. He's confined in a zoo with nothing to do but bob and sway through every troubled day until he falls asleep, and that is why elephants weep. He was taken away on his mother's worst day, far off to a land he doesn't understand, and he never will, and that is why elephants get ill. His feet are torn, his spirit's worn, he has no space to roam. Though life goes on, his mind is gone. He has no place called home. He's alone with no friends. His pain never ends. Through all of his stress, he endures less and less, and yet he still hears his mother's cry, and that is why elephants die. Billy, his name is Billy.